Suzette.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. My name is Suzette Shaw. I'm a Skid Row resident. I write, talk, and I advocate Skid Row from a woman's perspective. I was displaced to Skid Row December 6, 2012. I spent most of my days at the Downtown Women's Center as I had come to Skid Row from a women's safe house. My family did not know where I was. January 5th, 2013, I picked up the phone in the day center at Downtown Women's Center to let my twin sister know where I was. I have been permanently housed now since July of 2016. I had a major surgery just days after I got permanently housed. I walked around for almost 9 months with a Section 8 voucher, only able to see one apartment in those 9 months. I do a lot of volunteering and advocacy, and although I had volunteered for a lot of entities and had a lot of social workers and case manager and housing specialists, no one would help me. No one would help me. I saw this one apartment somewhere in the Hollywood area, and I remember this high yellow Rastafarian brother saying to me, "I can get $5,000 from a vet. What are you working with?" And I was living on GR, $221 a month, which I lived on for 5 years. And I walked out of there because I was too ashamed because I didn't have nothing to work with. Nothing. I had nothing. Although I had every credit card in my name prior to ending up homeless, although I had lived in a $1 million neighborhood and was working with a loan officer to buy a home before I lost my job, and after I lost my job, I had nothing. So with that said, I just want to move on to some of the programs because I know we have limited time and I know I'm going to get that end sign. Someone spoke about Housing for Health, and I feel that it's a great opportunity for Housing for Health to really be the key folks as far as propelling people who are struggling with dependency, with the need for housing and gravely disabled and so forth. We have these subpopulations on our streets who are falling into chronically homeless populations. And also I have to say, as someone who spends time on the streets, going block to block, shelter to shelter with research projects, people become very conditioned to the lifestyle, and it becomes very hard for them to get off the streets. So I think Housing for Health could create model programs that would be innovative to support them. I currently live in a permanent supportive housing building here in Skid Row, and it's actually a model program where they have market rate, they have Section 8, they have PSH, and then they have people who are gravely disabled. I think it's called an Exodus program or what have you. What I have noticed is that, personally, I feel that there's too many people lately that they're transitioning into permanent supportive housing who are not ready, who really need to be more in a transitional housing program and really need to develop social and other skills so that they're ready to move in, to be in a housing setting with other residents and neighbors so that they have the proper skills to know what it means to be a neighbor, to pay your rent, to keep your apartment clean, to really develop those skills before they're moving on into permanent supportive housing. I want to move on to the fact of Judge Carter's orders. And I want to move it on to, I got to talk fast. Judge Carter's orders, and an interview that I recently did with NBC Universal where Lester Holt interviewed Mayor Garcetti. And he talked about the parcel that you all own where they paid $5 million for 39 homes, approximately. And I remember Lester Holt looking at the mayor and saying, $5 million? Really? And the mayor was like, yeah, but we own the parcel, so, you know. But what he didn't get is $5 million for freaking tiny homes? where I ended up spending a night all on the internet watching tiny homes being built all over the world. The crazy, amazing things that they're doing with $5 million. That they could do with $5 million for tiny homes. And people were doing on parcel in New Zealand and Australia and so forth, where the land is like crazy, stupid, expensive. You all are missing the point here. One is that Habitat for Humanity, why has that never come into play when it comes to people in poverty and Skid Row? Why do we never get to have the opportunity to have our own home and where is Habitat for Humanity? And I know a lot of y'all got a lot of crazy, rich and celebrity friends, so why aren't we getting them to help support us with the NIMBYism and building the homes and divesting and investing in those homes so that, one, we're getting the buy-in of the celebrities who are living in the same homes as the NIMBYs who think they're too good for us. And by the way, why aren't we doing eminent domain in those communities where they don't think they have the right, that we have the right to live in their communities? And the reason why I mention eminent domain is the simple fact that, there was this thing called redlining, where people like me and my ancestors, we were displaced. And we weren't given the equality and the equity, even when we should have had the right, even when our ancestors were building in those communities, even when today there's still historical land that our ancestors built on and these communities, even here in Skid Row and downtown, where you all right now are trying to rezone and allow for high-end developers to come in and build in Skid Row, right in the midst of people living out on the streets. And I want to tell you about some folks who are your friends. Estella Lopez and folks, LACPC, when I had my Section 8 voucher for almost 9 months, they came around and they did an interview with their developer friends and their architects and so forth, and they had some land in Skid Row, and they were going to be building in Skid Row. And they made a point of letting the people know. And the LACPC is a meeting that happens every month. And it's with executive directors that run the nonprofits, Ann Minsky, and it's with the mission leaders and so forth. And they made a point of saying that, we've already talked to LAPD about the people who are living out on the streets. And we need your help with moving them from off the streets into shelter. And we know, this is what she said, we know that we're going to have a talk to the people who move into this building, because we're building for people who work in downtown LA but can't afford the high-end trendy lofts. So we need your help to move them in. And and I kept raising my hand and she said to me, can you just wait until I'm done? I waited until she was done, and I let her know. I said, I want you to know, I'm a black woman who lived in Silicon Valley for almost 20 years. 20 years. I got displaced from Silicon Valley. I got displaced from my hometown. I was the one who commuted 2 and 3 and 4 hours a day each way. I was that person. And I ended up in Skid Row because I had no other place to go. So you let whoever you think has the right to come into our community know that this is our community. And they are no better. And they will live right next door to us. They will live right next door to us.
Thank you.
And that's what you all have to understand about the issues of equality and what it means when you talk about reparations, what it means when you talk about setting aside $1 billion and Judge Carter's orders. This is what we're talking about. I know I've taken up too much time. Thank you.